Let's talk some NIL. I got Pete Nakos, On3 NIL expert with me. He wrote a really interesting article this week. Pete, you ranked the top collectives in college football. So is your team one of the ones that are paying the big bucks to keep this roster together? We're going to find out. Speaking of big bucks, let's talk Prize Picks. Prize Picks got me in week 1. I'm not going to lie, Pete. Prize Picks got me, but week 2, I'm coming back strong. It's super easy. All you got to do, select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. This is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Prize Picks, it's really simple. Now, here's who I'm going with this week. I'm going with an NFL pick and a college. So here we go. Hear me out. I know you look like you're good with money, so tell me if this is a good investment. I'm going Caleb Williams with more than 0.5 passing. That's like one of those gimmies.
Yep.
Then I got Lamar Jackson for more than 1.5 rushing and passing TDs combined. Lamar Jackson, 2 TDs. I think that's easy money.
Yeah.
For college, I'm going Shedeur Sanders, 1.5 passing yards. I took more than.
Yep.
I think he's going to throw more than 2 touchdowns against
Yeah.
Nebraska. Quinn Ewers, I'm going more than 244 yards on the ground and through the air. Good investment?
That's going to be the one.
I'm making money. You guys, let me know, comment section below. What are your picks? So Prize Picks, quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types. That's what makes Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So here's what we're going to do. Go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop and use code inside scoop to receive a guaranteed $50. All you got to do is play $5 in lineups. So go to prizepicks.com/inside scoop, promo code inside scoop. It's Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. All right, Pete. Now let's talk some NIL. You wrote a story ranking the top 15 collectives. Let's talk about the top 5. You guys can go to On3, read the whole update there. But Pete, before we get into the actual list, what makes a good collective?
So this collective list was establishing the top collectives in college sports right now. So the biggest thing for us is who has the highest bankroll, who's viewed by their peers as one of the top collectives in the country. And then beyond that, too, how are they doing at retaining and attracting talent? And we're going to break this down here, but I think it really reflects what we're seeing in the recruiting rankings. And then also when you look at the AP poll and who are the top collectives in the country right now and the top teams in the country.
All right, so here we have it. Ohio State, Tennessee, Texas, Oregon, and Miami. That makes up your top 5. But, hey, all I heard all summer were the rumors that Oregon had unlimited funds by Phil Knight backing him. So is that not true?
That's not true. You talk to a lot of people around this NIL collective world, and people are just kind of in awe of what Oregon has going on. They have the NIL collective out there is called Division Street. It's heavily funded by Phil Knight. It's actually run by a lot of former Nike execs, which kind of adds this allure to it all. And the one interesting thing about how Oregon has operated is you go to their website, right, and we'll talk about these other collectives. They're not asking for the common fan to donate. I mean, they're kind of taking care of it themselves. There's some really interesting collabs they've done with Nike, actually, to raise dollars.
I did see that. So that's kind of interesting. I saw some of the collabs they did even a few years ago with the NFTs, and they would put these NFTs out.
Yeah.
They would sell out in a matter of minutes.
Yep.
And they would make 100, 200,000, and I'm like, oh wow, they're printing money.
Yeah. I mean, they did another really interesting thing to it, like the dawn of NIL, where they turned an Airbnb into like an Oregon-themed Airbnb, and all the dollars from that went back to the collective. So
I kind of think that's how it should be. I mean, when if you thought back 20 years ago and you said, hey, in the year 2024, they're going to be paying recruits, I'd be like, oh, great, it finally went that way. And then the time traveler says, oh, but it's the fans paying the recruits.
Yeah.
I'd be like, wait. What happened to the $1 billion in contracts for TV? Oh, those are still there.
Yeah.
So then why isn't the money coming? Oh, no. The fans are going to. But it seems like the money should flow through the corporations.
Yeah.
And that's what Oregon's doing.
Yeah, that's what Oregon's doing, and that's kind of why they are. I don't know if they have unlimited money, Josh, but they definitely have some deep pockets out there in Eugene.
All right. Why do we have Ohio State #1?
So we heard all off season, right? The Buckeyes are spending about $20 million. New athletic director Ross Bjork said that publicly. I've confirmed it with sources. They're well over the $20 million mark. Writing this story, I talked to the collective, that foundation. One of their co-founders, Brian Schottenstein, told me that he is estimating that over 10 players on this year's roster, roughly 10 players, are making $1 million or more.
Wow.
To put that in perspective. So what Ohio State's done on the trail, what they've done in the transfer portal, picking up guys like Will Howard, Quinshon Judkins, Caleb Downs, that has really set them apart.
How are these teams like a Tennessee, Texas, Miami, Oregon, Ohio State? How are they allocating funds between transfer portal and high school? Is everybody along the same lines, or do we see different strategies?
Everyone's doing things a little different, right? You look at like some of the blue bloods on this list, like in Ohio State. They're all about winning now. We know that. So I think when you look at how they're spending dollars, they're really prioritizing recruiting, but the amount of money they're spending on the portal dwarfs what they're spending on recruiting. And, the other thing that nobody really talks about, like we like to talk about how this recruit got that much or that portal got that much. I mean, Ohio State brought back double-digit guys who could have been in the NFL draft, and that takes dollars.
Right,
That's called retention. That is the name of the game.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, you got to balance recruiting these guys out of high school with also recruiting these guys to stay away from the NFL, and both recruitments cost you money.
Yeah, it's it's pretty crazy.
All right, you got Miami at 5. At one point, John Ruiz was named On3's NIL Person of the Year. Is John Ruiz even still involved with Miami's collective?
So I have a story coming out more about Canes Connection, which is the prominent collective there now. And so none of the dollars that they're spending on this roster right now come from John Ruiz. John is completely out of the picture. It's really interesting, though, too. Miami's another school that
John Ruiz crawled so Miami's new collective could walk?
If that's how you want to say it, Josh, I'm not going to put it like that. But they're spending roughly over $15 million, have had sources tell me that. And when you look
all together
with right now on this year's roster, so you look at some things when we talk Miami, right? They've done a really good job of flipping some like really top recruits. You think of a Justin Scott and a Mark Fletcher, who were former Ohio State commits that they flipped. I mean, we saw Fletcher, the running back, have a great day Saturday against Florida. And then in the portal, I mean, the cash spent there has really paid off in dividends when you look at a Cam Ward, a Tyler Barron, other guys like that. Damian Martinez got a lot of reps at running back. So that is kind of what Miami's approach has been, and just really making sure that Mario Cristobal has all the resources he needs to get Miami back to its heyday.
Yeah. Is anybody allocated more funds on this list than Tennessee has to quarterbacks?
No.
I mean,
no.
But that's kind of like what we see, right? Like different characteristics for different programs. Tennessee willing to go do whatever it takes to make sure Josh Heupel has a long list of quarterbacks ready to go.
And you look at this list, and we keep going down, right? Like Notre Dame's on this top 15, and Notre Dame has done this interesting thing where they have been recruiting quarterbacks, but the last few years they've only started transfers. And then you look at a Tennessee, and Tennessee is really doing everything they can to build up that pipeline. They got Nico Iamaleava right now. They have George McIntyre, the 2025 commit, and other guys like that. They also have Faison Brandon, the 2026 commit. So Josh Heupel is stacking this up, and obviously what Tennessee can do from an NIL approach is not it's a big factor here.
What happens when the investments you make don't turn out the way you expected? Because right now we're heading into week 2. We haven't even played week 2. There's only one team out there that's 0-2, and that's Florida State.
Right.
And we know that Florida State was they're not a top 3 spender. They're maybe not a top 5 spender, but they're definitely in the upper echelon of spending, especially in the transfer portal. So and they're not going to be the only team in this situation by the time the season's over. So what happens when you feel, a fan or a staff member, they feel like, hey, we didn't invest right because whatever we did this offseason didn't work? Are they tied to those investments for years to come? Like, what's the fallout of a bad season with NIL?
So we're really starting to see it for the first time. I think obviously everyone wants to talk Florida State right now. They're the best example. You could actually point to Miami.
Well, but also Florida State, though. Also, I mean, Ingram Smith came out and famously told you a couple weeks ago that they've invested more heavily in the transfer portal than they have high school recruiting. And when you see Florida State's transfer portal product on the field, you're like, well, I don't really understand what they paid for.
Yeah, I mean, that is the risk at the portal, right? And then on the flip side of that,
But how long are these programs kind of tied? Is it like a one and then they can kind of revamp it?
DJU, right? Everybody wants to put DJU under the microscope right now. He's only going to be at Florida State for 1 year,
right?
So you're really only tying dollars to him for about 6 months or so. So when you talk about the portal, that's the risk that you have to take when you take a guy. And odds are, with the top portal guys, I mean, you're only really taking them for 1 to 2 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So you kind of get that money back. You could take a look at your roster and see, hey, can we do a better job now? It's not like in the NFL where you sign a guy to like a 3, 4, 7 year deal.
But at the same time, like some collectives only do a year-long deal, so then they can reevaluate when the portal reopens and say, did this work? Did it not work? Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, there are such things as surefire portal prospects too, and they're like, we need to lock this guy in for a 2 to 3 year agreement so he doesn't leave, school X or Y.
All right, Pete, let's leave it with this. Your top 15, you guys can go read that on 3. Who's a program that's outside your top 15, maybe even a smaller program who just you're hearing has a really well-run NIL collective?
So, took a lot of phone calls last week for some programs that didn't make it. And to be honest with you, like the one or two that really could have snuck on there was an Auburn and Texas Tech. Both have done really good jobs, and we keep hearing about Deuce Knight and Auburn come up. And I mean, we'll be honest here, like NIL isn't everything, but the fact that they have one of the more well-operated, aggressive collectives in the country cannot, it has to be looked at too. So Auburn's done a great job. They retain talent. They're doing good on the trail, on the recruiting trail. That is one collective that I've watched grow and would have been on that list if it was a top 20 or 25.
All right. Thanks, Pete. Like I said, last time we had Pete on, we're going to continue to talk NIL. We're going to educate ourselves along with you guys. It's all happening. It's all new. Some of you guys don't like this, but hey, even if you don't like NIL right now, you might as well learn about it because it's not going anywhere. So you guys talk to me and Pete, comment section below. How do we feel about these top collectives? Are you a member of one of these top collectives? Let us know. Comment section below. Well, you've made it to the end of today's video, but there's hundreds more videos on the On3 Recruits channel for you to check out. And also, while you're here, hit subscribe.